Hey guys, this is Amy from Garden Up Landscape. Today we're going to talk about how to get a garden ready for fall and all the different steps associated with that. So mostly fall prep involves a lot of cutback. So Daylilies, Salvia, Daisies, Echinacea, all those bulbs that have bloomed all summer, all those things need to be cut back down just so that cleanup next spring is a lot neater and tidier and it looks a lot nicer in the meantime. So something like a daylily, the best tool for that is a good pair of hedgers. You want to make sure they're good and sharp. You can also use electric hedgers for this. You could use hand pruners, but it takes forever. So what we do is we just come in underneath, and I usually just take it off in chunks. Watch out for irrigation lines. Please do not cut them. Thin leaf things like this, as always, make sure you're careful when you're pulling them by hand because this is it's real easy to get like a paper cut on these. Okay, so that's a daylily. There's plenty of those around. Then we will move to daisies and salvia right over here. So what happens most of the time with things like daisies and salvia is you get this growth from the summer that starts to just look really ratty, really, scraggly and ugly. But you have this nice rosette of new growth down at the base. So what we do is we take these pretty much all the way down. And what you'll have left is a real nice, pretty, this mound of green. The other thing you'll notice is where the flowers are blooming is mostly on green. I don't need to cut that off. So we'll still have those blooms. For the sake of speed, do not cut one and throw it and cut one and throw it. It'll take you forever. Grab several, wait till your hand is full. So I'm going to go ahead and leave these ones with the flowers, so I still have a few flowers. Yay, it's so pretty. Here's a peony, same thing. We just take it right down. I'm going to leave this one because I love the fall color, but you just take it right down. You can tell when it's time to deadhead something. So what we have right here are asters. These are just starting to open up. They tend to open when the weather starts to get really cold, and they're just beautiful. You'll have this gorgeous mound of flowers. And then it'll be done, and it's winter by then anyway. You can cut it down in the winter, or you can leave it until spring and cut it then. Or you can deadhead individually if you're really into it, but I don't. One thing to know about this plant is it's really, really prone to powdery mildew. So you want to watch for that all year. If it starts to get white or turn powdery, you'll want to get a baking soda spray on it right away. Also, only plant this plant in sun. It does not do well in shade because the mildew just goes crazy. So mine stayed pretty nice this year and I'm very happy with it. And it's going to be blooming here in the next couple weeks. It's just gorgeous. Right next to it, I have a May night salvia. Salvias are done. Okay, so what to do with these now is it's got this nice little rosette underneath of new growth. You can come in with your pruners and just take that out. Take out the, you can come in with your pruners and just take out the old growth so that what you have left when you're done is a nice little mound of green. And you don't have to stare at all the dead, icky, gross stuff. Well, there's a few of those in my yard we'll practice on. What we have right here is Liatris. It blooms midsummer. I leave the green on the leaves because it's still photosynthesizing right up until it starts to change color. But now it's just about done. It's time. We can cut this back too. Just cut it right down to the ground. Next to it over here we have a rose. It is still blooming. Very happy with this. There's several schools of thought on roses. Some people prune them right down to the ground in the fall, and then they cover them with compost and pine needles. Some people leave them and prune them hard in the spring. I am of the second mind, where I like to prune them in spring, because the way the cold gets into the roots is through a cut stem. And if you cut that stem really short, it's easy for the cold to get to the roots, and as soon as that cold gets to the roots, that's when a rose dies. And so I like to leave them a little taller. If you've got one that's really high, like I've got one over there that's taller than me, yeah, I'm going to take it down a little bit, but I'm not going to cut it right to the ground. We'll do that in the spring. I have some verbena here. This is an annual, so we're just going to pull these out. Maybe not yet. I don't know. We'll see. It's been really cold, so they're not going to last much longer anyway. This one, I finally got milkweed to grow this year, and I'm really excited about it, and I'm letting it go to seed. So we're not going to do anything with this. In a client's yard, we would cut it down, unless they asked otherwise. This is a lupin. It's just now starting to get a little bit of mildew, which is good. It's lasted the whole year without too much trouble. You should have already cut the stalks off, and you just have this nice little mound. And that's all there is to do with that in the fall. This guy here, this is a glad, and gladiolas are annuals in our climate, and we're going to treat them a lot like dahlias, where we're going to dig them up, and I'm going to put them in a paper bag, and I'm going to put them someplace cool but not cold, so hopefully they'll survive through next year. I'll talk about these. These are Oriental Lilies, and they're pretty much done. They're still green, but the leaves are frostbitten, so they're not really going to do anything else. So we just take them, we leave an inch or two on the lilies, not because the lilies need it, but because we need to know where this is planted. Come next spring, I know there's a lily planted here because of this stick. Do not take these all the way to the ground. So irises, there's two things you want to do. One, all this dead junk, you're going to take that out as you do the other thing. With irises, they usually make a fan. And what I like to do is I fold the fan in half, and then I cut it at a downward angle. So it's shaped kind of like a hand with a peak in the middle and comes down on the sides. And you want to do it somewhere between 4 to 5 to 6 inches. Mostly it depends on the plant itself, how high it is and how large the leaves are. But it's really just whatever looks nice. You want to leave enough on here that you can grab the dead leaves in the spring and take those off. But it should only take a couple of minutes to do a decent sized cluster. The other thing I wanted to show you, but they're not ready yet, is hostas. We cut them down just like daylilies. Just take your hedgers and just snip them off. If there's a hard freeze before you get to the hosta, they'll just fall off, and you can literally just take your finger and go shh and pick up all the leaves. They'll fall right off and just rot right away from the roots. So that's super easy. More lilies, we'll take those down, but leave a couple inches. These are more annuals. This is what's going to start happening to all the annuals right here. This geranium. They get frostbitten, and the leaves just kind of droop and fall, and that's that. So this is done. We're just going to grab this and pull it out. Beat the soil out, because we can reuse the soil. And then that just gets thrown. I think I'll leave my verbena for now because they're still looking really nice. Ornamental grasses, you can cut them down now in the fall, but most people tend to leave them because they're nice to look at in the winter. It's good winter interest. I like to leave them, and this particular zebra grass, I just absolutely love it, so I'm going to leave that until spring. We'll cut it down then. So mums, what a mum will do is it'll bloom, and then down at the next node, it'll shoot up another bloom. So here's the first one, here's the second one. And then down at the next one, it'll shoot up another. And down at the next node, it'll shoot up another. And so you can take off one and continuously have blooms for several weeks. And so we do deadhead mums. If a client has one, we will take a few minutes and we will tidy this up and take off all the dead blooms so that you can see the newest ones. and it stays nice and pretty for several weeks. Those are absolutely gorgeous. I have another aster right here. This is, I think, my new favorite plant. It's growing on me. I love it. This is a porcelain vine, and these are the berries. All different colors on one plant of metallic blues, greens, and purples. Oh, it's super cool. Looks like little Easter eggs. So, I just planted one there this summer, and I'm excited to see what it. Oh, here's it. Excited to see what it does. Here are the berries. Wow. Isn't that cool? I've never seen this plant before this year, so it's a new experience for me. All right, so here we have an Echinacea, and Echinaceas are just like all the other ones we've talked about, with little mounds of green underneath all the stalks. And you just take the stalks right down to the ground, and what you'll have left is a nice little pile of green. And it's the same with all the plants that grow this way. A lot of Asteraceae plants, but a lot of flowers that have stalks, you just want to take off the tall stalk. And then what's left behind is just nice leaves. You'll start to be able to look at a plant and just kind of tell what it wants. I mean, I call it talking to plants, because it is. You're listening to them. The plant will tell you what it wants. And each plant has a different growth type, growth style, and it'll tell you exactly what it wants you to do to it. So.